Hey guys, my name is Skyler. I am the owner and creator at Silversmith Jewelry, and today we have a box from Adam. Ooh, we have an oval. Very pretty bright blue with some brown matrix in there. So now we get to decide, what are we gonna do with this stone? My intuition, and what I will probably do, is make it into a bracelet. I think we're gonna do a split shank. We're probably gonna go with the stamping around it and maybe some rope wire. We'll see how it looks. Let's go draw it out. So we're just going to outline. I brought a few stamps that we could choose from. I'm kind of thinking we're gonna go with this one, but we'll try all of them. I think we're gonna do a rope border, a rope or a bead border, but probably a rope border. So I'm just gonna draw these little circles in here. So we'll do that quick. And then with my stamps, to make sure that it fits around the stone, I use some ink. Let's start with this one because this is the one that I think I'm going to use. I just put it on the ink pad and then I place it where I want it to go. We're gonna go around. I really like this design. I don't even know if I'm gonna try the other ones. Let's give it a shot. Let's try this one next. I don't mind that either. And the last one we'll try is this little triangle. So I'm not really liking that design on here. I'm thinking I'll lean towards just the triangles here. So that's the plan. We will show you the stone. Now that we have a design chosen, we are going to wrap the stones. First up, we have this serrated type bezel. Next, we have this scalloped bezel. And then lastly, we just have some plain bezel. Since we have all of the design on the outside of that stone already, I think we're gonna go with the plain bezel. So now that we know we're going to go with the plain bezel, we have to figure out what height of bezel we need that will fit the stone. So this is 3/32, this is 1/8, and this is 3/16. I have a feeling this 3/32 is gonna be too short. Well, I usually do this on the table, but I'll do it here to show you guys. So it goes on the bottom of the stone, and then you want it to go over top of this lip here. And this just isn't gonna be thick enough. So that means the 1/8 is probably going to fit, and it's on the bottom of the stone, so that should fit. Let's wrap this stone around now. And then I'm just gonna mark where this needs to be cut, that line. Make sure it's a straight line. I didn't really do a great job. There we go. So now that we have the bezel ready to solder, we're going to, it's all flush here, so we're gonna set it down, put some flux on that spot where we want to solder, and then I'm gonna be using medium solder today, and then we'll just solder this little joint together. I'm gonna put just a little more flux on there. There we go. So now we can clean that up just a little bit. Okay, so now I have most of the sharp edges done. I'm gonna take my radial disc and make that a little bit more smooth. So now that we have our bezel nice and smooth, we are going to make sure it still fits our stone, and it does. Next up, we're gonna do our back plate. Okay, before we do our back plate, we are gonna wrap this stone some rope wire here. Oops, we're gonna squeeze this together so it's nice and tight around the stone, and then we're just gonna cut. I'm gonna cut with a little bit extra. We'll cut it off right here. Make sure I didn't cut off too much. You can tell right there that there is still some gapping, so we still do have to cut off just a little bit more. And there we go. It should fit perfectly now once we get it soldered. Before we go and solder this rope wire, we're going to use our back plate. So I'm using 22 gauge today. Let's go this way. Remember, this is our stamp that we're going to be using. Now that we have the line of where we need our piece to go, we're gonna cut it out. So I'm gonna use my haymaker saw and some beeswax. Now that we have the back plate cut out, we're gonna stamp it for our maker's mark. And then we're going to do our 925. There we go. And then I also usually put a little cowboy hat on my pieces, so we will also incorporate that. That is what that looks like. Let me flatten this out a little bit. Now let's go solder the bezel to the back plate along with the rope wire. Okay, so first up we're going to put some flux on there and heat it up all the way around, starting at the back. So now we get to put it on the back plate. I'm gonna use my handy flux. There we go. That is what it looks like right now. And it looks pretty darn clean. All right, let's start the stamping process. Okay, now we don't have quite as much excess silver along those stamps. Now that we have that all finished up, we have to choose what kind of wire we're gonna use. These are our three options. Maybe we'll do just a plain wire since there's already plenty of detail on this one. Okay, since I decided we're gonna use the plain wire, now we have to cut it to the right length. Let's do a large. And now we are going to just mark it where we need to cut. And since we're gonna do a split shank, we're gonna do 2 of them and mark it again. So now that we have these 2 pieces, we're going to hammer them so they sit flat. Measure the distance. So that is our middle here. We're gonna put some flux on each end and we're gonna kind of put them at an angle here. And I gotta do both sides here. There we go. We're going to put it on our mandrel and just hit it with our hammer and get it a little smoother. So then for a little sneak peek, I'm going to put in my Midas liver of sulfur gel Just gonna put a little bit in there. You don't need very much. Cover it back up. Okay, so with this part, I'm gonna be wearing a mask so I don't breathe in these fumes. Before we throw this in the tumbler, I'm going to slip it on, and I'll put the stone in so you guys can kind of see what it's gonna look like here. And then I take some Dawn dish soap, and then we put the lid on. Throw it on here, turn it on, and let it rock and roll for an hour or two. So now that we have all of our radial discs used, we're going to set the stone and then we will polish. So first up, we're going to open up our bezel a little bit. There we go. So now we'll move on to our polishing. And here is our finished product. Look at that shine, look at that stone. That stone is absolutely gorgeous. Thank you guys for tuning in today to this episode on Desert Forge Collective. My name is Skyler. I'm the owner and creator at Silver Sky Jewelry and here for all of your Western inspired jewelry needs. Thank you to Adam for supplying this beautiful stone from Kingman Turquoise. If you are in the market for any high quality stones, please reach out to Adam. And if you're in the market for any silversmithing work, please reach out to me at silverskyjewelry@yahoo.com. You can also shop this beautiful cuff at silverskyjewelry.com. So thank you guys for tuning in.